Hi everyone, my name is Farheen and I'm the chair of the Uniting Muslims and Allies for Humanity. Today we're here for the Unity Gala. It's a gala where we're able to bring together diverse communities to start talking about what it means to build bridges and to build, to humanize one another, particularly in these political times where we're dealing with issues of Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, racism, etc. There's so many opportunities for us to start to have dialogue and start to know one another better so that we can prevent attacks like Quebec City and Pittsburgh synagogue attack from happening again. This is a very difficult time for us, and it's important for us to stand together.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you guys very much for having me. And please give a round of applause to my backup band next door who are performing along with me. Thank you guys very much for having me. My name is Jeremy McClellan. I am here from Charleston, South Carolina. Anybody here ever been to Charleston, South Carolina, or South Carolina? You guys get lost and just end up there for some reason. No, I grew up there. I grew up in the South, and 3 years ago, I was in Charleston, and I parked in downtown in front of the Emmanuel AME church there, and I had a show nearby. And then I got in my car, and I left, and based on the timeline, as you may have heard, just a few minutes after I left Emmanuel AME Church, we had the Charleston church shooting that we had, where 9 people were killed, including a friend of mine. So I've just been thinking about that these past few days. And then 1 year ago, I did an event very much like this, where we raised money for Rohingya refugees in Jacksonville, Florida. And then it was on a Friday night, much like this one. Everyone had just come from Juma. And then the next day, the next morning, I woke up to a text from lots and lots of people telling me that someone had been prevented from committing a massacre at the Jacksonville Mosque right before the show. And so we had done the show just in this space of time that should not have happened. And so these two events I've been thinking about so much these past few days with the Pittsburgh shooting and all these different shootings that have been going on, committed, the vast majority of which are by white supremacists. And so it's very nice to come here from the South and come to Canada where there's no racism. It's just been so nice to come here. That is what Americans think of Canada. That Canada is just this perfect place of no racism. Everyone looks like Justin Trudeau, and you just ride a moose to work every day. And it's this beautiful place. And then you come here, and then I learned that I'm performing at an event where Canadians are uniting against racism. And I'm like, are you guys invading the United States? Because if you are, now is the time to do it. Because Trump has sent all of our troops to the southern border, leaving the northern border perfectly undefended. So if anyone wants to try, you're more than welcome to. But no, there is obviously racism in Canada, and I actually experienced some racism in Canada the last time I was here. I actually performed at Muslim Fest in Mississauga. Anyone here been to that? Yeah, it's a great event. I performed there, I had a great time, and for the first time in my life, I spent the entire night not on my phone the whole time. And after the event was over, I get back to the hotel, and I open up my phone, and I'm reading some tweets, and someone tagged me in a tweet saying, oh my gosh, we met Jeremy McClellan, so excited, #selfie. And the picture was of 2 Pakistani girls with a white guy who was not me. I'm like, you know what? We don't all look alike. All right, this is very, very, very upsetting. I'm trying not to be racist, right? And it's something that white people we have to struggle with, because there's just certain things. But one problem, I'll tell you a story. One problem that I have whenever I travel is a lot of time I'll travel so much. Like I got here just a few hours ago. Tomorrow morning I'm leaving. A lot of times I'll forget what city I'm in. I just travel so much, I'll forget what city I'm in. Like recently I was traveling, I was doing a big tour in the United States, And I was working out in a Planet Fitness. Y'all have these in Canada? You guys do have Planet Fitness in Canada? Okay, that's awesome, yeah. So some of you are clapping, like pretending you go. Yeah, I go there, yeah. No, you don't. No, you don't. And I was working on this Planet Fitness, and I saw this guy wearing a shirt that said Charleston, South Carolina. And I got really excited, because that's not that big of a city, you know, you get excited when you're traveling, you see people, you know, from your city. And so I went up to him and I was like, hey man, are you from Charleston? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, oh cool, were you born in Charleston? And he was like, no. And I was like, oh, where are you really from? And he said, Ohio. And I said, oh, that's cool, because I'm from Charleston. He was like, okay. And I'm like, yeah, I was born in Charleston. And he was like, okay. I'm like, yeah, like I was really born here. And he was like, leave me alone. And so I did. I went back to my machine or treadmill, whatever I was doing, and I kept working out. And then about halfway through my workout, I realized I'm in Charleston. Like I was in Charleston the whole time, and I had just walked up to this guy in Charleston. Hey man, you from Charleston? Yeah, well, were you born in Charleston? Yeah, because I'm from Charleston. Are you from Charleston? Where were you born? Ohio? That's fun. Maybe we can be best friends. And I went home, which took me a lot less time than I thought it was going to take me. I went home and I told my wife what had happened. I was like, you're not going to believe this. I sounded like such an idiot. And I get home and I tell her what happened. And she stops me in the middle of it. And she's like, Jeremy, what race was he? And I was like, I think he was like an Asian guy. And she was like, Jeremy, he didn't think you were an idiot. He thought you were racist. Because you had just walked up to this guy in Charleston and been like, hey man, you from Charleston? Yeah, but were you born in Charleston? Yeah, because I'm from Charleston. Like I was born in Charleston. We're going to make Charleston great again. It's not good, not good. But no, this is a great event. I'm looking forward to the food at this event because before this event, I thought the event was next door. And I went in there and I ate a big plate of food. And then I realized that it was not the right event. And then I went next door, did this one, and I'm like, okay, this is the right event. I'm glad it turned out to be an event that was related to this one, you know, and not like Faith Goldie's like campaign or something. Just like, I'm just glad to be here. There's a lot more white Muslims than I thought in this event. And then I get photographed with her or something. It would not have gone well at all. This same thing happened to me like 3 years ago. I was doing, I got this request from these Pakistanis, and they asked me to come and perform at their wedding in California. And I was like, wow, that's really exciting. I've never performed at a Pakistani wedding before. You know, it was just kind of getting started in comedy. I was so excited to go perform at their event. And they gave me a list of their names, like different things I could do to make fun of them. And they were like, okay, just go to this hotel, go to this room, okay, go sit in front, and then after the speeches, come on stage and do a set about Pakistan and about Pakistani culture and everything. And so I do that. I go to the event, I find a Pakistani wedding, I sit up front, after the speeches, I sit on stage, I perform for about 20 minutes, and then at the end, I go back to my chair, I look at my phone, and I have a text saying, Jeremy, you're about to go up, where are you? And I realized that I have just performed at the wrong Pakistani wedding. And to this day, so I left the room, just like just happened tonight. I left the room, I went down the hall to the correct Pakistani wedding. I sat in front, I did the exact same set, and then I went home as fast as I possibly could. Because I still, if anyone hears rumors of this story in the Pakistani community, this really did happen, all right? And I was so terrified, like just looking back, I kept thinking like, what were they thinking was going on at this event? Because from their perspective, like they didn't know who I wasn't big yet or anything like that. I was just this white guy who had shown up at their wedding and then totally unasked got on stage and did 20 solid minutes about Pakistani culture. Just this traveling millionaire racist person who just travels around the country performing racist jokes for Muslims, right? And then he leaves and no one ever sees him again. And if that's not horrifying enough, later, on the Uber ride home, I realized, oh no, I had been using their names during the set, like the bride and groom's names. So I had been up there with them on the couch. I'm just like, Omar and Zainab. Omar and Zainab, these crazy kids. You guys know Omar and Zainab. So Omar went to the University of Connecticut and it's not Omar and Zainab. I'm just like, that's probably their names. That's probably their names. So yeah, it's terrifying. And I still think about that and cringe. And I'm glad we did not have a repeat of that tonight at this event. So I'm very glad to be here. I'm Catholic. I hope that's okay with everybody. You guys still have Catholics in Canada? We still have a few. Anybody here not Catholic? Anybody? Oh, okay. So okay, that's awesome. It's great. Yeah, it's like a few. It's awesome. No, but it's really cool. And like people ask me, I've done probably like 300 shows over the course of my career for Muslim organizations. And people like ask me why I do it, and the reason why I do it is like I'm just doing it so that I can get into heaven. Alright? Because my goal is just to get in good with each religion. So that whichever one turns out to be true, I'll be able to get it, right? Like I'm doing this event, right? Like if Christianity is true, I'm good, I'll vouch for all of you. Like they're with me, it's totally fine. If Islam's true, I'm here, right? I own a thobe, I'll put it on real quick, I'll get in. I have a Hindu show tomorrow. The next night I have a Jewish comedy show, although let's be honest, every show is a Jewish comedy show. It's just kind of like how the culture works. And I feel like it's gotta be, I mean, as far as what you said, I feel like it's gotta be one of the main religions that's true, right? Like, it wouldn't be fair if it wasn't. Right? Like it's got to be either Christianity, Islam, Judaism, Hinduism, or atheism. It's got to be one of the top 5 religions in Canada. And like, wouldn't you be surprised? Wouldn't you be like kind of disappointed if you got to heaven and it wasn't one of the main 5? Like you got to heaven and it was like Tapio, the Finnish tree god. And you're like, Tapio, I wasn't even paying attention this day in school. This isn't fair at all. And he's like, you should have recycled more. I'm like, I know, Tapio, this is very disappointing. This is very disappointing. Like I said, I'm Catholic, and my wife is very Catholic. She is super Catholic. My wife actually wanted to be a nun when she was growing up. Right? And if you don't know enough about Catholicism, basically a nun is someone who is planning to marry Jesus. That's what a nun is. Nuns are married to Jesus. So my wife had planned to marry Jesus, and then I guess they broke up before the wedding. She left him at the altar, literally. You can go there and see him, he's still there. And thank you for that. That's a good joke, solid joke. And then she married me. And like, I don't know if any of you have wives whose ex-boyfriends are a lot more successful than you. But that's kind of where I'm at, all right? And it's hard because she brings him up all the time, all right? Like whenever we run out of bread, she's like, you know who never ran out of bread? I'm like, I know, your ex-boyfriend. I'm like, we don't have any more wine. She's like, we have water. You know who never had that problem? I'm like, I know, it's Jesus, all right? And I can't get away from him because he's my boss. I have to talk to him every day. And I have to talk to his mom every day because I'm Catholic. And like, that's hard because she's a classic Jewish mother. She just talks on and on about how great her son is. And I'm like, I know, your son's great. She's like, my son's awesome. And like, you know, if she should have married him. I'm like, I know. She's like, you're the reason I don't have grandchildren. I'm like, okay, it's enough, Mary. It's fine. It's fine. And I try to respond to her. And tell her that like, I'm kind of like Jesus. You know, like in a little bit of a way, right? Like, I quit my job at the age of 30 to walk around and talk to people. That's what I'm doing now. My mother's name is Mary, and most of my fans are Muslim. So, like, in those 3 ways, I'm like a lot like Jesus. It has been interesting. I remember a few months ago, I went to I did a show. I performed at a Shia mosque in New Jersey, And we were talking about this earlier, about how imams, whenever they try to be funny, everyone laughs. And I get mad because like I work hard on being funny. And I'm like, those are just imams jokes. I was doing this event and they didn't have a microphone for me at this event. I had to just have a microphone sort of in my lapel. And then I had to perform like I was giving a TED Talk. It was pretty awkward. And so, but the event went fine, everyone seemed to have a good time. And then like as I was leaving, the imam ran up to me and he was like, hey Jeremy, I just thought you should know, we really enjoyed your set. Thank you for coming and performing for our community. It's nice to have a white guy here who's not an FBI agent. And I was like, that's funny, that's an imam joke, but like it's pretty good. Right, it's a pretty good joke, and I was like, you know what, that's pretty funny. And right when I said that's pretty funny, my microphone fell out of the lapel and just hung there. And I just looked at him and looked at my wire that I was wearing. And I was just like, abort, 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 abort. Because it was hard to like try to convince him that like, you know, I'm not an FBI agent. You can't convince someone you're not an undercover FBI agent, right? Like, how do I explain to him, I'm not spying on you on behalf of the FBI, I'm spying on you on behalf of the Sunnis. Right? Just to totally clear it up, right? Just to kind of let me know. Like I said, I was raised in Charleston, South Carolina, a very conservative household, and they taught us about Islam, sort of. But like, not very well. I remember I had a teacher in school who told us about Islam in 5 minutes. It was very thorough. And then at the very end, she said, and by the way, just so you know, you can't trust Muslims. And we were like, why not? And she got real quiet, and she said, because according to their religion, they're allowed to lie about whether they're Muslim. And I was like, really? And she was like, yep. And I was like, are you? Are you Muslim? She was like, no. I was like, how do I know? Principal's office. See how that works. And like, one of the things that I've learned, I don't know how it is in Toronto, I think it's true everywhere. One of the things that I've learned is that Muslims know a lot more about Christianity than Christians know about Islam. You guys feel like that's true? I feel like that's true wherever I go. Like most of the Muslims that I know, most of the Christians that I know don't know that Muslims also believe in Jesus. Right? They have no idea. And none of them know that Muslims also believe that Jesus is coming back. Right? Like at the end of time, he'll come back, he'll kill Trump. And then I think that's how it works. I think that's, I'll have to ask any mom to fact check that for me. I think that's what the prophecy says. I don't know. If you're filming this, don't post this until tomorrow after my flight leaves. I'd like to go back. Although staying in Canada would be fine. But it's weird to me. It's weird to me that Christians don't know that Muslims also believe that Jesus is coming back. Which means that if Islam is true and Jesus does come back, there's going to be a lot of very excited and then very confused Christians who were just like, Jesus, you're back! This is great! We were right! Thank you for coming! And he's like, you're welcome. Assalamu alaikum. We're like, what? Oh no. Like wiping pork stains off our shirt or something? We're like, no, that's good. It's good. So I grew up in Charleston, but I worked with people with intellectual disabilities. That's what I did for most of my life. From the age of 15 to the age of 30, it's about 15 years I worked with that population. And my favorite clients are the ones that I had who were Muslim, because it was a very interesting relationship that I formed with them, where it's like I was a Christian, but it was my job to help them be good Muslims. Which meant I had to figure out what Islam was. And then I had to figure out what a good Muslim was, and then help them be that. And I gotta say, guys, as a caregiver, I was a very strict Muslim. Like, I had it set on my phone 5 times a day. I'm like, you gotta pray. You gotta pray, it's time to pray. No, I'm not gonna pray, but you gotta pray. You gotta pray, it's time to pray. Or we would be like out to eat, right? And like my client Saeed, he'd be like, I wanna order some bacon. I bet you can't have any bacon. And he's like, well, why not? I'm like, because Allah forbids it. And he's like, really? I'm like, yeah, it's haram. He's like, okay. And the waitress would come, and I'd be like, I'm gonna have some bacon. I'm gonna have twice as much bacon, I'm gonna have his bacon. It got real awkward during Ramadan, right? Because I would be out with like Muslim clients, and then they would be like, can I have some food? And I'd be like, no, you can't have any food. And they'd be like, can I have some water? I'd be like, no, you can't have any water. And people would overhear me. And they'd be like, why aren't you giving those boys any food or water? I'm like, because they're Muslim. People would be like on the phone with the Human Rights Committee, like, I think this is like, something's going on here. Is that a hate crime or something? What's going on? One of the interesting things in America, and I think this is true in Canada as well, is that Christianity is kind of on the decline, and Islam is kind of not on the decline. So congrats to everyone. And some people are afraid about that. I'm not really afraid about that. But there was, I know that my friend, my best friend Sultan, he's Pakistani Muslim, and his mosque is inside of an old Baptist church. And what happened was Baptists stopped going to the church. They got down to about 3 people, and then they were like, we can't afford to be here, so let's sell the place. And then the Muslims were like, we will take that. And then so now it's basically a mosque. And what's funny is that during the hearings, people would come to protest. They would come to the town hall meetings. Christians would come to the town hall meetings to protest, like every Wednesday, to speak out against this. And I was just like, if you guys would have come here on Sunday, we wouldn't have this problem. And they're like, no, I like to sleep in. I don't want to do that. But from the outside, his mosque still looks like a Baptist church. You guys have churches or mosques like that where it kind of still looks like a church. But like from the outside, it looks like a church. When you walk in, it still kind of feels like a church. You have to walk in all the way before you realize, oh, okay, this is a mosque. And what I really wish would happen, this hasn't happened yet, but what I really wish would happen is that a bunch of Trump supporters would move in down the street, start attending, and just never realize that it's a mosque. And just be like, man, we've been going to this new church. It's very different. Like, all the church services are on Fridays. It's really convenient. They make you take your shoes off before you walk in. It's very Japanese. We love it. We love it. All the baptisms are in the bathroom. It's just very wet in there all the time. I don't know. They're very devout Christians. They baptize themselves like 5 times a day. They're very good. And we've been going about a year, still have no idea what they're saying, but we never learned Latin, so makes sense. You guys, it's good. I don't know Latin. I'm trying to learn Urdu. Does anyone here speak Urdu? What do you do? Okay, a lot of Pakistanis in here. I'm trying to learn Urdu not so I can talk to people. Alright? It's just so I can tell what they're saying in the comment section of my Facebook page. There's a lot of Urdu, and a lot of times it's in all caps. And I'm like, I hope that's good. I don't know what they're saying. And this started, again, like 3 years ago. I started getting this really big following. I was talking about all these issues, and then, it sort of went viral. And I got this comment that said, Jeremy, you're my favorite Goro. And I was like, I hope that's good. I don't know what a Goro is. I think that's... And so I looked it up. I put it into Google Translate, and Google Translate said it meant horse. And I was like, why would... Is horse, is that a good thing in Pakistan? Right? And I tried to make sense of it in my head. I was like, okay, so like in India, the cow is the sacred animal. So like in Pakistan, it must be the horse that's the sacred animal, and then I'm their favorite one. Their favorite one. I'm a very good Gora. I'm fast. It's very good. Gora means white people, in case y'all don't know. But I went to Pakistan about a year ago. I'm planning to go back in the spring. And yes, I will go to Karachi this time. So nobody gets upset with me about that. But I went and I had a really great time. The problem was I went in August. And so it was blistering hot. It was hotter than it was in Charleston, South Carolina. And I was just like, oh, it's so hot here. And it was bad because there were people there who were complaining about it being hot. And so they were saying, Germi. Right? They were saying, Germi next to me in line. And I'm so arrogant, I was just like, it's actually Jeremy. So, I know you recognize me and everything. It's okay. It's actually pronounced Jeremy, not Gary. And they were like, Gary! I'm like, oh, okay, all right. Walking away, walking away, walking away. Also, how do you say hello in Urdu? Yeah, y'all, a lot of y'all like saying Assalamu alaikum. No, that's what I thought. That's what I was prepared for. I get there, and everyone is saying, Kaisi ho? I don't know what that means. I get there, I think everyone there is saying, guess who? I get there, and everyone's just like, guess who? Guess who? And I'm like, what? Who? Guess who? I'm like, this is the goofiest country in the entire world. Before I went to Pakistan, I had to tell my extended family that I was going. And my parents are wonderful people. They're wonderful people. You guys would love them. They love you. But I have extended family who are just not fans of you. They're just not fans of 1.8 billion people in the world. Just not their cup of tea. And I was telling my aunt, who's very Islamophobic, you can look at her Facebook page, it's very terrible. And I was telling her that I was going to Pakistan, and she was like, she had two things she said. She was like, number one, Jeremy, when you go and you perform in Pakistan, how are you going to be able to tell if the women are laughing? And I was like, what are you talking about? She was like, when you go and you perform, like, how are you going to be able to... And I was like, oh, okay, I see what you're saying. No, don't worry, the burqas move a little bit, and it's going to be totally fine. Like, their husbands will hand me notes saying that they thought it was funny. I think that's how it goes. But also, she said, she was like, Jeremy, you're a Christian. If you go to Pakistan, someone's going to kill you. That's what she said. And I was like, no, you don't understand. Like, all the people that want to kill me live right here in the United States. Right? Like, I'll be fine in Pakistan. Matter of fact, if I ever had to flee the United States, that's probably where I would go. Right? I'd flee the United States, I would go to Pakistan, I would go to a city called Abbottabad. Because apparently you can hide there for years and years and years and years, and no one ever knows you're there. It's been a lot of joke, in case you guys know. I did that joke in Islamabad, at the Islamabad Club, and this woman in the audience yelled out very angry, hey, I'm from there. I was like, really? You're from Abbottabad? And she was like, yeah, and by the way, it's not pronounced Abbottabad. It's pronounced Abbottabad. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, that's probably why we couldn't find him. Like, you know, for years, George W. Bush was like, we gotta go to Abbottabad. He's probably in Abbottabad. So like, CIA's like, we have no idea where that is. What is he even talking about? And then finally, Obama took office and he was like, it's Abbottabad. We're like, oh, we'll go get him right now. This is really easy, right? That's all it went. That's all it took. That's all it took. I was like a little bit scared there. I went and I appeared and got interviewed on PTV. You guys watch PTV? It's the Pakistani like national television. Mostly they cover like agricultural news or whatever, like American Sundi or something. And I went and I performed there, and right before the interview they said, by the way, don't make any jokes about Islam or someone will kill you. And I was like, is this someone here, like in the office? Like, is it you? Like, what kind of threat is this? Like, no, just like, don't do that. And I was like, okay, cool, won't do it, totally fine. And I start the interview, and the first question they ask me is, hey, why don't you tell us what you think about Islam? I was like, oh, well, I just went into like professor mode, you know, and I just like answered like, oh, well, there's a lot of similarities to Christianity, I think we're gonna live in brotherhood, blah, 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 blah. And I did that for like 5 minutes for the entire interview. And then at the end, that's all they asked me about was Islam. At the end, they said, I'm not making this up, you can find it on YouTube. At the end, they were like, you know, you're not as funny as we thought you would be. And that was the interview. So, PTV, on my next trip, I would love to be on your show again. Thank you so much. No, it's weird, it's weird. I do have good news though, and for those of you following me on social media, I'm sure you already know that my wife and I just had a beautiful baby girl, guys. She's great. Her name is Jewel. I'm sure you've noticed her because she gets about 100 times as many likes as my jokes do. I'm not bitter, it's okay. She's cute. She's cute. She's great. Her name is Jewel, although I'm sure she'll change it later when she converts to Islam. It's just a matter of time, right? But Jewel for now. Jewel for now. And we love her so much. She's a beautiful, she's a great, great, great little girl. But my wife and I have started to worry that she might be Muslim. We're starting to worry. And not in the way that you guys are like, every baby's Muslim. I mean like in like a real, like she might be Muslim. For a few reasons, okay? Number one, she was late. Alright, so it's like she was 2 weeks late and we're like, this baby is on Muslim time. This is not okay. Number two, she eats at really weird times, right? Like it's 1 a.m. and she wants dinner, and we're like, this is not a white baby. There's something's going on here. But the main reason why we think she's a Muslim is that we've been reading to her, all right? And we've been reading her lots of little children's books, including a book called Goodnight Moon. You guys have read this? But whenever we read it to her, she starts arguing with us about whether she saw the moon. And it's this huge fight. And then she gets on her little toy phone and calls the Saudi babies to ask them if they saw the moon. And then other babies are like, it's not the Saudis, it's ISNA. ISNA decides if you saw the moon. And we're like, no, it's the local masjid that decides if you saw the moon. Like, what if it's cloudy? It's a huge thing, guys. It's a huge thing with the baby. My wife is great. Her name is Stephanie, and we've been. She's wonderful. She's a feminist, which is great. I love that about her. I love that she's a feminist. I'm a feminist, but I'm a feminist in South Carolina, right? Like the bar is a little lower in South Carolina. Like in South Carolina, I'm like, women are human, and they're like, yes. Look at this ally. This guy is awesome. Who's this guy? This woke man saying women are human. Good for him. Right? Then I come to Canada and I'm like, women are human. And you're like, no, we're not, we're spirits. I'm like, okay, I did not know. I don't know your grading curve here in Canada. But we got into an argument a few days ago. We got into an argument because she was saying that women still make 77 cents for every dollar that a man makes. You guys have heard this? Do you guys have this here in Canada? The wage gap stuff? But like I explained to her, that's just because men naturally gravitate towards higher paying professions, like doctor, or engineer, or CEO, whereas women, this is true, just naturally gravitate towards lower paying professions, like female doctor, and female engineer, and female CEO. Right? Like it's not our fault that you don't apply for the regular jobs. Like we're just, come on, it's pretty easy. No, this is true. My favorite part of that joke is just seeing women get angry and then happy. It's nice. It's a little symphony. It's beautiful. But no, this is true of my own marriage. My wife and I, she is a female architect. That's true. She makes lady buildings. I'm very proud of her. And I'm a stand-up comedian, and yet she still makes only about 77 cents for every, 23 cents that I make. Which is why I married her. Okay? So we could become one man. Here's a little math joke. No, this is true in my, I gotta get out of here, we're running out of time, and you guys really want to have dinner. I do want to mention though that before we got married, it was like 2 weeks before the wedding, she sat me down and she told me that she was not going to take my last name. Right? Because she's a feminist, and we all know a real feminist keeps the name she got from her dad. She didn't like that joke. Some of you were clapping. Some of you have had those arguments before with your wives. No, it's fine, and my wife, she came up with some other ideas. She was like, okay, fine. Why don't we do a hyphen? Let's do a hyphen. I was like, I don't want to do a hyphen. That's just your dad's last name minus my last name. Like, I don't even want to know what that equals. But you guys, we actually figured out the perfect solution. She ended up taking my last name. Yeah, and I took her first name. Now we're both Stephanie McClellan. It's nice. I'm like, hey guys, how you doing? My name's Stephanie McClellan. This is my wife, Stephanie McClellan. And her beautiful daughter, Stephanie McClellan. And this is what equality looks like. Alright, now we all make 77 cents. for every dollar that a man makes. But my maiden name is Jeremy McClellan. Thank you guys so much. Please support this cause. This is a wonderful event. Thank you so much for having me. Let's get back up here. Thank you so much.